Please excuse my voice as I have the flu right now. My name is Nashika Shelton. I will be presenting Project 4, Psychological Foundings, the Pioneer presentation for my Masters of Teaching. The person that I've chose to do, the pioneer I've chose to do is Erik Erikson. And this is Erikson's theory. Erikson maintained that personality develops in a predetermined order through 8 stages of psychosocial development, from infancy to adulthood. During each stage, the person experiences a psychosocial crisis, which could have a positive or negative outcome for personality development. My reflection is the follows. Erikson believes that human development in 8 stages of psychosocial development from a baby to adulthood throughout the lives, and the psychosocial crises have either been good or bad effects on our personality development. Psychosocial development is the development of humans' cognitive, emotional, intellectual, and social capabilities from birth to old age. Psychosocial crises are life events that are stressful, that normal coping methods are insufficient. I have some example of the 8 stages of the psychosocial development. Let's start from infant to 18 months. Trust versus mistrust. You're quickly learning how to trust yes around you or mistrust maybe. From 18 months to 3 years, it comes autonomy, shame, and doubt. You're realizing that actions have consequences and they may be positive or negative. From 3 to 5 years old, initiative and guilt. Now you're starting to form emotions attached to actions that you may have done. From 5 to 13, we have industrial versus inferiority. This means that you are learning how you fit into the world and how others may be over you or under you. 13 to 21 years, identity versus role confusion. You are discovering new things about yourself and how you fit into society. 21 to 39, intimacy and isolation. You're becoming closer to others, learning how to bond with them on more personal items, or either you're isolating yourself, which means you're alone and don't want to be around other humans. 40 to 65, generality versus stagnation. So now you're getting into your older age. You're either going to be slowed down or you're going to keep up. 65 and older, ego integrity versus despair. Some people have a harder time coping with old age, and this talks about it. This comes from the Psychological Notes headquarters. Let's talk about Erikson's older life. Well, he was born June the 15th, 1902, and he passed away in May the 12th, 1994. His early childhood, his mother was a Jewess and separated from his non-Jewish Dane father before his birth. His mother had to flee to Germany with him because she had him out of wedlock. His mother worked as a nurse and remarried a doctor. Erik was a tall, blonde, blue-eyed boy. Education. At first, he did not attend college. Erik dropped out of school and began a lengthy period of roaming around Germany and Italy, as well as a wandering artist. That's what he did while he was in Germany and Italy. He was a wandering artist. Later in life, he studied the Montessori method of education, which focused on child development and sexual stages. In 1933, he received his diploma from the Vienna, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Psychoanalytical Institution. Marriage. Erik married Canadian-born American dancer artist Joan Erikson. Children. The Eriksons had 4 children: Kia T. Erikson, John Erikson, Sue Erikson Bolin, and Neil Erikson. His oldest son, Kia T. Erikson, is an American sociologist. Their daughter, Sue, is an integrative psychotherapist and a psychoanalyst. Employment. He started teaching at a young age in art. He also tutored children until he was 25. German American development psychologist and psychoanalyst Eric served as professor at prominent institutions, including Harvard, the University of California, Berkeley, where he would teach at the Institute of Social Relations, and he taught at the medical school also. Erickson's career as an educational psychologist, studied psychoanalyst at the Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute. He specialized in child analysis. He studied the Montessori method of education, which focused on child development and sexual stages. In 1933, he received his diploma from the Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute. Erickson became the first child psychoanalyst in Boston and held many positions at the Massachusetts General Hospital, the Judge Baker Guided Center, and at the Harvard Medical Center and Psychological Clinic. This while he was establishing a singular reputation as a clinicist. In 1936, Eric left Harvard and joined the staff at Yale University, where he worked at the Institute of Social Relations and taught at the medical school. Later, he went on to join a team engaged in a longitudinal study of child development for the University of California at Berkeley Institute of Child Welfare. In San Francisco, he opened a private practice in child psychoanalysis, where he went on to publish a book called Childhood in Society. Later, he returned to Harvard in the 1960s as a professor of human development and remained there until his retirement in 1970. Let's talk about the pioneers who influenced Erickson. Analysts August Ackhorn, Heinz Hartmann, and Paul Ferdinand were one of the among who would supervise his theoretical studies while he was at the small Birmingham Roosevelt School for Children at the Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute. He specialized in child analysis and underwent training analysis with Anna Freud. Helen Dlush and Edward Birmingham supervised his initial treatment of an adult. During this time, he also served as a visiting professor at the University of Pittsburgh, where he worked with Benjamin Spock and Fred Rogers at the Arsenal Nursery School of the Western Psychiatric Institute. He was influenced by Freud's theory, but he did not focus on the parent-child relationship and gave more importance to the role of ego, particularly the person's progressives as self. Let's talk about his later life onto his death. In 1950, after publishing the book called Childhood in Society from 1951 to 1960, he worked and taught at Oxen's Riggs Center, a prominent psychiatric treatment facility in Stockburg, Massachusetts, where he worked with emotionally troubled young people. He returned to Harvard in the 1960s as a professor of human development and remained there until his retirement in 1970. His influence on the current teaching practices we know as today. His influence as follows. We use his 8-stage theory to make sure students are developing adequately as they advance K through 12, which use his model to make sure students are psychologically developing correctly. Well, you may ask, why is it important for teachers to be familiar with Erickson's work? Well, if a student is not developing correctly, it is the teacher's job to notice and take action. Place the students in an environment where they can succeed. This might mean, out of all the classroom time, to work with list at assigned times of day and the school year so that child will not fall further behind in the psychological development process. A teacher is usually focused to notice and the delayment due to how closely we work with our students on a day-to-day basis in a classroom setting. This is my bibliography and the websites along with YouTube videos and books that I cited. This is my bibliography continued. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on Eric Erickson. the link to my